Zaten bu haliyle bile öncekilere haksızlık oluyor.
Bir şey anlatacak mıyız?
Yok yok, anlatmana gerek yok.
Kalemin rengi belli oluyor mu?
Alrighty, here we go. The first one is pretty easy. The second one, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Left, middle, right, left, middle, right, left, middle, right. So we need 3 to the right. In this one, I know the correct answer is this one. And you could say there's some kind of symmetry. I'm not sure how to express the rule, but I'll just be satisfied with clicking G. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, left, middle, right, left, middle, right, left, middle, right, 3 to the right. Here, the horizontal line goes from top, middle, bottom, and the vertical line goes from right, middle, left. So we need left and bottom. In this one we have movement in the matrix, and the movement of the rule applies from top left and then in the reading direction to the right, and when we finish a row we start on the next row. So we have the first little box here moves from this cell, right, right, and then it starts over on the next row, middle, right, next row, middle, and it ends up in the last cell of the matrix. The other little box moves in the opposite direction, so it goes from last to first. So we have the first one and the last one represented. Here we have 3 figures, and each figure is represented once in each row and in each column. So we need a circle here to represent it once in the column and in the row. In this one, I know the correct answer is H. I'm unsure why. You could say there is some kind of, here when we go from left to right, things are preserved, and when we go from top to bottom, things are mirrored. Well, it's H anyway. In this one, we have the middle section is a combination of the left and the right. So this one and this one combines into this one. So we have a triangle here, and we need this triangle to combine. So it's A. Here we have a rule from left to right. We have a triangle and something happens, and we have a triangle again. A circle, something happens, and some kind of circle again. So we have a square and we need a square. Here we can see there is some kind of stretching in the vertical direction. Here there's stretching in the horizontal direction. Here we have both a vertical line and a horizontal line, so there's stretching in both directions. So we go from a small square to a large square. Here we have this kind of 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, where each number is represented once in each row and in each column. So in this column, for instance, the middle column, we have 2, 1, 3. Here we have, in the right column, we have 3, 2, and we need 1. Then we have to decide between these 3. And then we can look at the direction of the lines. They go, each direction is also represented once. So we have diagonal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, diagonal. Here we have horizontal, diagonal, and we need vertical. So it's if. Here we have a shape of 2 leaves, and they move apart from each other when we go from left to right. So they start here, move 1 apart from each other, or 2, and then 1 more or 2 more. And we have this one, they move apart from each other and they end up here. In this one, you could say that the right one and the left one and the right one combine into the center one, but we have to have some kind of rule for what happens when a part of the drawing is represented both to the left and to the right. And you can express this in various ways, but one way to express it is that each part of the drawing is represented either 0 times or 2 times. Not once, not 3, but 0 or 2. And actually this rule would apply if we start with any of any 2 of the 3 cells in a row or in a column. So let's try it. If we start with this one and want to make this one, then we have the vertical line is here and here, so it's already twice, so it's not going to be a 3rd time. This line here is represented once here, it's not on this in this cell, so it must be on the last one to be represented twice. So let's apply this rule from, let's say, here, here, and then to here. The horizontal line is represented already twice, so it's not going to be here. These diagonal lines are once here, they are not here, so they must be over here. And we end up, if we check everything, with this figure. In this one we have also some kind of combination of this cell to the left and this cell to the right combines into the middle cell. And if we combine this one and this one, we get this one. So here we have something that combines with this one to get this one, that would be H. In this one we have action from left to right, or rule from left to right. We have 3 different shapes and they can either be empty or filled out. So we start with, when we are in this column, we start with a filled out shape, then we have another shape that's empty, and then the empty shape repeats, and inside we have the 3rd shape that's not in the 1st or 2nd place. So we have a square here because we have a circle and a triangle in the 1st and 2nd cell. So we start here. In the next row we have a filled box, then we have a circle, the empty circle repeats, and then we have a triangle because there's not a triangle here or here. So here in the last row we have this square that repeats, and it's going to be filled up with a circle because we don't have a circle here or here. So we have E. In this one the rule applies once again from the top left, then the next one, then the next one to the right, and then we go down here just as if we were reading a book. And we have movement. This little box moves in the clockwise direction around the circle. So it starts here, moves here, and here, and here, and here, 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 and it ends up here. In this one we once again have some combination rule. This one combines with this one to get this one. This one combines with the last one to get the middle one. If we check everything out, this one combines with this one to get this one. So we need something to combine with this one to get this one. That would be the dot. Here we once again have movement in the matrix, and the rule applies from top left to down right by going horizontally. And we have 2 squares and they are combined like a worm, so it moves also from top left and to down right. And so we have this worm goes from here to here, and then it starts over in the next row. It's here, moves right, and then it starts over in the next row. And when we come down here, well, we kind of have to assume, I guess, that it starts all over. Then it's going to fit in nicely with this one. So we have the worm split in the front part and the last part. In this one, we have in each entry of the matrix, we have a shape consisting of 3 leaves. And we can identify them by their shape. This one is the same as this one and this one. This one repeats here. And the final one is this one. So it's obvious now that each shape is represented in each row and in each column exactly once. So we need a blue one here. So we can rule out a number of these. We can rule out this one, this one, this one. This one is a blue one. This one can be ruled out, and this one can be ruled out. So it's one of these 3. And it's tempting to think of considering the direction of the leaves. So for instance, if we look at the red ones, we have a middle leaf that's pointing upwards, and we have a middle leaf that's pointing 120 degrees clockwise, and then it's rotated here 120 degrees. So 120 times 3 is 360. So you can split up a circle of directions in these 3 directions. It would also suit us here. We have down right, down left, and we would have upwards here. But we run into a problem in terms of the purple shapes here, because for instance this one points upwards, but if it's rotated 120 degrees, it's just going to repeat, but these are obviously not repeats of the first one. So we have to figure out another rule, or actually we don't, but because this one is the right one, but there's a different reason for it. If we check carefully, we can see that each cell of this flower is filled out once by one of the red shapes here. So for instance, here the top cell is filled out, but it's not filled out here, and it's not filled out here. The next one is filled out here, but not here or here, and so on. These 3 purple ones altogether fill out every cell once. And for the blue ones, we need this one to fill out the 3 remaining cells that are not filled out yet. So the answer is D. In this one, the logic applies once again from top left to bottom right in this order. And the secret is that we have 3 axes. We have an axis here, we have an axis here, and we have an axis here. And there are some shapes that rotate around these axes. So for instance, if we look at this one, we have a shape going in, a line going through this axis. And when we go over here, it has been rotated clockwise to vertical, then it's rotated again to diagonal, and rotated again to horizontal, and etc. If we look at the left axis, we must have some kind of half line going here, and then it's rotated clockwise down here, and then it's rotated clockwise again. And then the big question is, what happens when we go from when it's supposed to go here? And the answer is provided here. It's not going to be hidden, but it's rather going to turn all the way up there, so it's always present in the figure. Then it's rotated to here, and then it's rotated to from here and inwards again. Down here, and then it's going to be rotated up there again. So we would have it positioned there. And the one around the center axis is here. It's going to be positioned like this. And finally, the third one around the third axis is going also clockwise. And we see again what's going to happen now. It's supposed to be here, but that's outside, so it's going to turn up over here instead. And it's going to be here, inside to the middle, up here, vertical, and then it's going to turn downside here, so we have it here. So the correct answer is A. In this one we have in each cell we have a selection of altogether 6 parts. So there are 6 parts. There are 6 parts. We have 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, 4, then we have 5 and 6. So these are the 6 parts of that are in play in this one. And once again, we have seen it before. There is a rule horizontally and there is a rule vertically that each part must be represented either 0 or twice. For instance, we have this flat one. It's not here, but it's here. That's twice. We have this diagonal one. It's once, twice, and it's not here. And the flat one is not here, but it's here and here. So that's twice. The verticals are not present at all, so they're represented 0 times. Here in the second row we have vertical once, twice, but not here. So let's figure out the last one. We have the diagonal, so it's not here. We have the flat one, and then we don't have a flat one here, so we have to have a flat one here. So we have 2. Then we have this vertical one. It's not here, but it's here, so it has to repeat. This diagonal here is not here, so it has to be here. And this vertical one is not here, so it has to be here. So the correct answer is H. This one is quite tricky, and you could say that the solution is ambiguous, but anyway, let's take a look. The first thing to notice is that we have two different kinds of stuff going on. We have top left, we have an object. We have an object here, an object here, and we are going to end up with an object here. While in the middle, in between the objects, we have what we could call operators or functions. They do something with the objects. So let's try and figure out what they do. First we have this curved line. And when we go from left to right here, we can see that it changes the shape of our objects. So it works on the shape at least. Let's go down to our cross here. And when we go from up here and down here, we have some kind of size change. So it works at least on the size of things. Then we could ask ourselves if this one, if it determines the size as well as the shape. And likewise, we could ask if this one determines the shape as well as the size. And the answer to both questions is no. And we can argue like this, that if this one determined the shape, then we should have some kind of a straight shape here. while if this one determined we know this one determines the shape, so we should have also a curved shape here, and that's impossible to be both straight and curved. So it determines the shape, but not size. And this one, not shape. So all in all, we will have a small figure here because we get some shrinkage here. And we must have a curved figure here because we have some curvature from here to here. So we can rule out a lot of these options down here. This one is not curved. This one is not curved either. And this one is not small. And these are not small as well. So these are our options. And now it becomes slightly controversial. So we can see that these two options, they differ in terms of their direction. So each object has a direction. And the question is, what determines the direction of the objects? You can see from here to here, there's no change of direction. It's horizontal and vertical. And from here to here, no change of direction. So what about from here to here, or from here to here? Well, we can look at this operator compared to this operator. This one is horizontal, while this one is rotated 45 degrees clockwise. So if this one determines direction, then things must be rotated 45 degrees down here. And we can check with the crosses. This one is up, down, and right, left. And this one is rotated 45 degrees. So from here to here, we have once again a 45 degree rotation. So we might argue that the center one, working like this and like this, rotate the functions 45 degrees, or make them obtain a direction 45 degrees rotated clockwise. Anyway, if we have to rotate this one 45 degrees, it's not going to be this one, it's going to be this one. So the answer is E. I think this one is quite difficult because you could say there's some kind of misdirection going on. The shape of the figures lead us to consider some kind of rotational movement and rotational positioning. But this turns out to not matter at all. So rather we can observe that these small circles, they are either on the inside or on the outside of the big circle. So let's note. Up here to the left we have inside, then we have inside, this one is inside, and then we have two inside over here. In the next row we have inside, then we have three outside. So let's make another color for the outside ones. And then we end up with two outside. While in the last row we have two inside, we have two outside, and the question is what's going to happen here. Now there are different ways to express the following idea, but in an abstract sense you could say that the blue and the red ones, they cancel out each other when we go from left to right or from top to bottom. So we make a count from left to right, we make a count of the lines. There is a red one, there's a red one, so all in all there are two red ones. Here we have a red one, then we have a blue one that cancels out the red one, so we have two blue ones left. Those are the two blue ones. We have two red ones, two blue ones, so if they cancel out each other, we're going to be left with nothing over here. We can check out this rule from top to bottom. Red one leaves us with 2 red ones. Red one, 3 blue ones. This one cancels out this one, so we have 2 blue ones left. And from here and here we have 2 blue and 2 red who cancel out each other, so that leaves us with nothing. So the rule checks out from top to bottom and from left to right. Another way to express this is that, let's say, blue is plus and red is minus. So these are negative numbers and the blue ones are positive numbers, or vice versa. So the correct answer anyway is G. This one is quite difficult for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that the big rule, or the action, only applies from left to right, but not from top to bottom. So we have action from left to the right, but not from top to bottom. And the second reason it's quite difficult is that the kind of action is not something that most people are trained in identifying. So without further ado, the action is that we have this shape here is going to be mirrored in this line to end up in this shape. This shape here is going to be mirrored in this line to end up in this shape. And we have a mirror action going also from here to here. So let's explain this in a little detail. For instance, the first one, this is our mirror, and then if we draw this one in red, then the end of the arrow is down here, and once we mirror it, we end up here. If we draw half of the arrow, that would be this part, and we mirror it, we get this part. And if we draw the front, then we go on the other side of the mirror. So that's kind of confusing. And if we mirror this part in our mirror, we get this arrow. So we see that we go from our red arrow up, pointing upwards, to our green arrow pointing right. So if we apply this logic to this arrow, then it's going to start down here, and rather than go this way, it's going to go left. So our correct answer would be a mirror and then an arrow this way. Let's check if we have it down here. Of course, the mirror is not going to be represented, so it's just going to be our arrow here. And that would be C. So C is the solution. Alright, the main idea here is to regard each shape as some kind of chart, and as such they have a bottom and they have a direction. This one is pointing upwards. This one has a bottom here and points left. This one has a bottom here and points right. Let's try and draw the directions. This one up left points upwards. This one over here, this one points upwards as well. And this one down in the middle points upwards. Then we have some pointing left. This one, this one. And we have some pointing right. This one, and this one. So it doesn't take a lot of imagination to figure out that this one down here has to point left. So that rules out a lot of these. We can rule out this one, This one points left, this one points left, this one can be ruled out, left, left, and this one can be ruled out. Okay, so far so well. Then let's begin to look at the colors and the length of the parts of the charts. So among those pointing upwards, so we look at this one and this one and this one, this one, this one and this one. We can look at the long one and consider its color. The long one here is black. Then over here it's dark gray, and here it's light. So that's each color once. The short one is light gray, black, and dark gray, each color once. The middle length one is dark gray, light gray, and black. So each color is represented once. We can check those pointing right as well, and it checks out the same rule applies. So for the one we have down here, we can consider the long one. It has to be not light gray, not dark gray, so we have black left. So we can rule out this one, it doesn't have a black one. This one has a black one, this one has a black one, and this one has a black one. Let's look at the short ones. This one is black, this one is dark gray, so we have to have a light gray one here. This one is light gray, this is dark gray, this is dark gray, so we can rule out this one, and we can rule out this one. So this is our solution. I'm not completely happy now. We have the solution, but we haven't explained why the shape is like this, because we have this shape here. 3, and then a 2, and then a 1. But for instance, the long one could have been in the middle, or it could have been to the right compared to our button here. So why is it like this and not in some other way? And to answer this question, we can look at those charts pointing right first. This one, this one, and this one. Here we notice that the shape of each chart is the same. The long one is in the middle one is to the left compared to the bottom, and the short one is to the right. Then we can look at those charts pointing upwards. So that's this one, and this one. And here we notice that the long one is to the right, in the middle, and to the left. The middle length one is to the left, to the right, and in the middle. The short one is in the middle, to the left, and to the right. So here, each length is positioned in each place once. So either the pieces stay in the same position as in these three, or they change position as in these three. So we can look at our blue ones pointing left here, and the long one here is to the right, then it's in the middle, so we suppose it's going to be down here. The short one is in the middle, here it's to the left, so we suppose that it's going to end up here, to the right compared to our bottom here. And the middle one is to the left here, to the right here, and in the middle in our solution. So that explains the shape of the solution. Alright, in this one we have some small squares and we have some circles. And it's not going to be much of a surprise that in the solution we're going to have a full checkerboard. Nevertheless, we can get some hint about how the action is taking place, or in which direction, by considering how the checkerboard fills out. So let's draw a checkerboard. Yeah. This is our square, and then we divide it up. And first up here it starts empty. Then if we go right, we fill out the first square here. And when we go right again, we fill out this one. And then if we go to the next row and start over from the left, we fill out this one compared to those two that are already filled up here. So that's this one. Then we add this one. And then we go from here to here and we add this one. And we change row again and add this one. And then we add this one. And finally here we add this one. Just to erase all confusion, we start here and go like this. And then we go like this and then like this. Anyway, the action is going from top left and then like this to bottom right. In the first picture we have two circles, and an idea here is to regard them as moving to the right and changing rows once they get to the end of each line. So we have two circles moving right. That's our theory anyway. So let's look at that. Let's look first at the front circle here. It's solid. Then it moves right over here. It's still solid. And then it moves right again. So it changes row. So it ends up here. So it's here and then it moves right again and then ends up here. And here it's not solid. Then we can try and keep on moving. It moves right, so it's here, but it's hidden by the box. And then it turns up here, and now it's solid again. Then it moves further right, here, it's still solid. And then it moves into the box. And then when it comes out over here, it's either empty or solid. Let's look at the last one. Here it's empty. Then it moves into the box. And when it turns up again, it's solid. Then we go further right and then here we are hidden. And now our theory is that when it goes into the box, it changes whether it's solid or it's empty. So if it's solid here, then once it goes in here, it's empty. Then it moves to the right, so that's down here. And if it was empty here, then it's supposed to be solid here. And then when it moves right from this box to this box, it turns up here. And now we see that it's solid. Then it moves here and it turns up empty again. So if we move right from this position, then we get to the next row. And that would be here. And there is no color change going on, so it would be empty. Everything checks out. It goes from solid through the box and it comes up into here, the front one, the blue one, and the same applies to the red one. And the tricky part is here, it's solid, then it moves into the box where it turns empty, then it moves to this position into the box and it turns solid, and it comes out solid in the next position. So our solution is H, 2 empty ones. Alright, this matrix is very similar to matrix 29. We have some objects. And then we have some operators or functions who do some kind of action on the objects. So these are our operators. So we notice that there are two kinds of operators. There is the single arrow one and the double arrow one. Double arrow, single arrow, single arrow. So let's split them up here. This is our single arrow operator. And down here we consider our double arrow. And then we can ask, what do they do? And if we consider the double arrow first, going from this object to this object, from top to bottom, we notice that it's the same shape, except that the colors are swapped. So it seems like the double arrow will make the colors swapped. The single arrow takes a narrow rectangle or thin rectangle and turns it into a square. So we can express it as it squares things. So this is our theory, and let's try and apply it to this object. We have this figure here. We have a single arrow, so it should turn into a square. So that would be like this. All right, that's our first idea. Then we can look here. We have this figure here, and the colors are going to be swapped. So that would be also this figure here. So that checks out as well. So it seems that's a very good suggestion for our solution, but we have some action as well, or you could say that we have some action applied by our centerpiece here. We have this operator with a direction, let's say upwards, and then this operator compared to the first one is rotated 45 degrees clockwise. So we have some kind of operation here with clockwise. This one is clockwise rotation by 45 degrees. And we can check that this guy here, also rotates 45 degrees. So we might guess that these operators, they not only have this one action where it either squares things or swaps colors, but that they dictate direction, maybe. If they dictate direction, then if this one points upwards, so then this is the top. Then if we rotate it 45 degrees, this one 45 degrees rotated, this one 45 degrees rotated, this one is a rotator of 45 degrees, then the top is going to be here. The yellow part here is going to end up here. The teal color here is going to end up here. And let's just say the black one is going to end up here. And the triangle with the purple and yellow is white here. Then it swaps color, so it's going to end up black. So that would be this one here is going to end up black, and this one down here is going to be white. So the solution is either this guy here or this guy here. So let's rule out all the others. It's not this one, 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 it's not this one. So it's either this one or this one. And I know what the solution is, the kind of official solution. And the official solution is that indeed there is some clockwise rotation. If people were to argue that, well, it might as well be this one because, yeah, why do we care about the clockwise rotation? I wouldn't disagree with people saying that, because we never actually see the clockwise rotation actualized. It doesn't happen on any object yet. It may happen to this one, but it never happens. It happens to the operators, but we don't know if they kind of inherit the rotation, so they apply to the objects as well. Anyway, the solution is either F or H. The official solution is F. We have some clockwise rotation by 45 degrees, actualized by these operators down here. Maybe they have kind of inherited it from going through the middle here. Alrighty, the last one. The last one here is very difficult, and I think a large part of the reason it's so difficult is that there's just so many ideas to consider. And not even that, there is also some misdirection going on, in that we quickly notices that in each of these small matrices there are 3 of each shape. So we are led to do all kinds of counting, and then make rules for how these shapes move around. But it turns out the fact that there are 3 in each little matrix is kind of irrelevant and doesn't apply to what's actually going on. So what is actually going on? We have some rules, and they apply in the big matrix here from left to right. And then we have some confusion, because in each of the small matrices the rules or the movement goes from top left to down bottom, including a change of row. So that would be like this. All right, what happens in each of these small matrices when we go from left to right? There is some movement, and then there is some shape shift or change of shape. So let's start with this guy here, this cross. There is some movement to the right when we go from this matrix to this matrix. So this cross is actually the same figure as this circle here. And then it moves right, so it ends up here, and then it turns into this triangle. And then nothing more happens, because the action goes from left to right, and then it ends. We can try and apply the same rule to this triangle here. It starts as a triangle. then it turns into a cross. When it moves right, then it moves right again, so it goes from the top row right to the middle row left, and it turns into a circle. So the blue one turned from cross to circle to triangle, and here we have cross turning to circle again. And it started as a triangle. Let's look at the next one. It starts as a circle, then it moves right down here and turns into a triangle. And then it turns from a triangle into a cross when it moves right again. So the blue one was cross, circle, triangle, cross, circle, triangle. The red one is cross, circle, triangle, cross, circle, triangle. And the purple one is circle, triangle, cross, circle, triangle. So we have cross, circle, triangle, and then we start over, cross, circle, triangle, etc. And then it just depends on where we start. If the first one is a circle, like the purple one, then we have circle, triangle, cross. The blue one starts as a cross, so it is cross, and then it's circle, triangle. And the red one is a triangle first, then it's a cross and a circle. Let's check one more. We have a triangle, and then it should turn into a cross when it moves right. It does. And then it turns into a circle. The same rule applies when we go from here to here to here. And the same rule applies from here to here to here. So let's start with our triangle here. It moves right and turns into a cross, and then it moves right, and it's supposed to be an empty circle here. So we can rule out this one, this one. Then we have our cross here. Cross turns into a circle. It checks out, it's correct. And then the circle moves to the next row and turns into a triangle. So we can rule out some more. This is not a triangle, and this is not a triangle. And we have here, we have here, we have cross. Cross turns into circle when it moves from here to the next row, that's here. And then it's supposed to be a triangle. So we can rule out this one, and we can rule out this one. This triangle here turns into our cross, and then it turns into a circle. So we can rule out this one, and B is our solution. Obviously, if we think about this one or try to figure out the solution, we are going to check a few more from, for instance, here to here. And you can do it as an exercise yourself to to check out that indeed this rule applies everywhere. that was the last one. Thanks for watching and good luck.